I am comfortable running big boxes full of hard drives, but maybe that's not the right fit for your family's needs. Hey, this episode of Some Gadget Guy is brought to you by viewers like you. All of the incredible people sharing content across social media and the amazing generosity of my patrons at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. More info on those fantastic nerds later in the video. All right, the folks at Synology sent a BeeStation my way for me to take on a test drive, share some thoughts. And I'm not going to dig into a traditional review of this enclosure, of this solution today. I want to get that out of the way right at the top of this video. I like this a lot, but this network drive has kind of inspired me to host a more philosophical conversation. If you want all the nuts and bolts and mechanics of this thing, I will happily link a proper review down in the video description. You and me here right now, I just want to have a chat about your family. They seem like nice folks. You've survived the holidays. You've toasted a new year. And now what do you do with all those amazing photos and videos that you've captured? Are you backing them up? Are you using the cloud? The BeeStation is getting me thinking about our family, getting our family up to speed on tech and backups, and making their own cloud. This drive has been out for a little while now, so I'm not blowing anyone's mind with the feature set or the capabilities. It's a good example of a type of drive our less tech-savvy family might be interested in. If you're in my audience, you're likely one of the people who plays tech support for the whole rest of the family. I don't know about your family, but my family is really tired of subscriptions. We just recently went through a very predatory issue with Apple geniuses and my grandmother over them selling her on iCloud she did not need. But at the same time, while I'm comfortable slapping drives into an enclosure and installing apps on a NAS, that certainly is not true for the rest of my family. As a nerd, it makes me a little sad that we don't seem to be educating consumers and bringing them up into techier features. Instead, everything is getting squeezed down into basic app style use. So I can rail against that, but we have to acknowledge that we need that streamlined app style interface to get people using this stuff. Now, whatever kind of drive you go for, your family needs to have an app to use it. My aunts and uncles are probably not going to be impressed with FTP these days. But the beautiful thing about you setting up network storage for them, you can dig a little deeper, set up better routines and permissions, and hopefully save your family some cash over the long run. The downside of you doing it is getting blamed for everything after you set it up, but this is the cross we geeks bear, right? I'm having a hard time. I just can't get over how lame cloud storage has gotten. Things like the app for Google Photos. As more email and photos take up space on our Google accounts, we get these annoying differences between apps and browser support. Over Christmas, my aunt sent a bunch of holiday photos over, and on the phone app, there was no way to just download the photos. I could only save them. I could only save them to take up space on my own G drive until I went in through a private browser tab, and then I was given the option to download. Shame on you, Google. That's predatory. Ditto recent changes on your phone to saving RAW files, and how Google's best version of video on the Pixel requires the user to upload video content to be edited in the cloud, and you end up with 2 copies of a video file. And this is not unique to Google. Every cloud storage platform has their own pain points too. But because of all the subscriptions these days, now is a good time to point out how things can be cheaper in the long run. Yes, the upfront costs are higher, but the BeeStation is one example. It's a great example of an established network drive company making something just a little friendlier. And it's really not that expensive. A 2 terabyte Google Cloud Drive account without all the dumb AI stuff is going to cost $9.99 a month. A 4 terabyte BeeStation is going to cost about $220 depending on where and when you shop it. So for twice as much big storage in a little box you control, your break even is less than 2 years. I'm pretty sure we're gonna need more storage over the years, not less. And as soon as you get into year 3, you're saving cash, and for every year after, you're not going to spend another dime. What's been tricky is getting over some of the psychological hurdles with my family. Companies like Apple and Microsoft, Google and Amazon, they spend billions on marketing. And that's what passes for consumer education these days. Have you seen a commercial of this product? Then you're aware of it. Now you're a tech expert. You might like watching tech videos and digging a little deeper, but the influence of even the largest tech channels is waning very quickly for broader consumer bases. Folks will act like a Google or an Apple is an institution and a monolith, and they'll overlook the issues they've had with Google solutions, but will immediately pounce on anything that doesn't work exactly the same way. It takes a lot of patience to approach those situations and remind our friends and family that even massive cloud storage providers occasionally have issues. And then it takes a lot of gentle reminding that if they're having problems accessing their network storage, they likely also would have had issues accessing their cloud storage. What I've also noticed in some of my interactions, something that seems like a downside at first glance, we don't get the benefit. What I think is that really insidious stapling of cloud and stock apps together on a phone. I've personally always found that to be annoying, but lots of people seem to like it. I open a Photos app and I want to see what's on the phone. But of course, instead, we see this mix of on-device images and cloud-saved images, which is designed to blur the lines so consumers aren't sure where anything really lives. I can tell you, as a parent, we're not teaching kids about things like file management. Less tech-savvy adults have no hope to understand this stuff on their own. They don't even know that they need that help. So it's wild to me that we have all these app-powered services and devices like smart picture frames that aim at once to simplify sharing photos, but also add a tinge of that dopamine hit we get when we get likes on social media. If your family members can navigate those kind of apps separate from their phone's stock photo app, there's no reason you can't get them on a network-attached storage app. The cloud trends towards entertainment are definitely enticing, like getting little videos and slideshows for memories. If you have a lot of photos in your G Drive, I'm sure you got a bunch of little montages, or do you remember when you took that vacation? That stuff is so much fun. But without dumping all your footage through Google or Apple's AI training, we're covering more than just the basics, and we're covering it really well on a little box like this. We've been hearing more and more about NPUs on laptops, but those little coprocessors have been around for years, and they're really good at helping people organize images and scan images to create tags to help us further search and sort. The tech industry is trying to spin this as AI. Ooh, whoa, it's AI. But really, this is just the organic evolution of features we've had on phones for years. So, a phone can identify a subject when you go to take a picture. It's not that fancy, but subject identification and categorization makes running a little network storage box handy for organizing your memories. Now, I personally prefer the techier system admin kinds of portals and apps to control these devices, but having a good photo viewer, it's nice to be able to kind of Instagram your own memories free of meta digging into all your stuff. There are so many hurdles and challenges to getting your family members up to speed. I could make like a whole video series just about how to back up your photos. But one of the things, the last thing we're going to cover in this video, one of the things that I think kind of helps is getting the family PCs connected to a network share. And this can also be a way to teach better file management in a proper desktop operating system. You assign a network drive a letter and you pin that to the side of their file manager, and now you can show your family members where files live, how to access them directly, and how to transfer stuff to the drive when they're at home. With just a little experience, you can also show them more advanced things like running a little media server. My uncle has been backing up his DVD collection to a little network box. When he wants to watch them, he just downloads and watches those movies on his phone or TV, but now he's starting to look at solutions that can run Plex to make the streaming a little nicer. It might take a while to break through, but when those little light bulbs start clicking on, it's fun and empowering to show folks how much less they can spend and how much more they can do. Another anecdotal example, my wife would not consider herself that tech savvy, but she really appreciates how her phone will back up her photos when her phone is plugged in to charge and it's connected to Wi-Fi. That seems like a total no-brainer to techies, but that was a concern for her that the backup would drain her battery or burn through her data. When I told her about that setting on the storage app, I delivered it in a tone like, hey, isn't this kind of cool? It's kind of like Google Photos. And she ran with that positive energy. When she tells people about our setup at home, she compares it in that tone. Now, she too is having more fun with media streaming and organizing all of our important documents on a storage device that any phone or tablet or laptop on our network can access. We want to find those companies that do a good job of holding a novice user's hand while also allowing folks to grow if they're curious about where this tech could take them. As the geeks in the family, we need to take ownership of that role. We can set this stuff up and give family a simple portal, but also maintain control over the experience. When left to retail support, like Apple geniuses, I don't think our families are really getting better support. They're just more likely to be sold things they don't really need to solve problems they don't really understand. My grandfather shot tons of film back in the day, and we have this incredible history of life in 1960s Southern California, and I'm so glad he held on to those boxes of film and those photos and those prints, or we'd never get to see any of this. It would be gone. They're not all posed portraits manicured for social media. There are a ton of wacky random images in there we'll never know the full story about, but it's a time machine I'm so happy to have. And the same thing can happen for you. You don't know what random image from your phone might do the same for a future relative. Transport them to another time or place. Help them understand who you are today. Do not let Google or Apple or Microsoft or Amazon or Facebook convince you that your memories aren't worth saving. Oh no, you're out of cloud storage. I guess it's time to start deleting stuff. Maybe buy more storage you control and just make your own cloud. And I just gotta say, thank you for letting me take this tangent. It's a slightly different kind of video than just my normal nuts and bolts kinds of review, so I appreciate people who are interested in going on these more philosophical tangents. And this just hit at the exact right time in the holidays where I'm already a little anxious. I'm a little precious about saving all those family memories. As I go digging through other products and doing follow-ups on what this performance is like, the folks who are gonna get to see the results of my testing first are my incredible patrons, all those folks at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. A huge thank you from the bottom of my heart. All the names you see scrolling up on the screen in front of you right now, those folks are helping to keep the lights on here in the Gadget Lab. They're basically the coolest tech pals in the universe, so I hope you'll check them out. Now, you know where you can find me across the rest of the internet? At SomeGadgetGuy, basically everywhere. But these days, I'm trying to spend a bit more time on the Mastodons and the Blueskis, a lot less time on the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the Threads, and definitely not on the Dumpster Fire site. And I will catch you all on the next video.